here now.
Okay. Sorry.
Scoot.
Yeah.
So, don't fall off the stools. Thank you for being here. We're so excited to have this program tonight in conjunction with our Cey Adams exhibition. And we're thrilled to have Katelyn Bloomquist as our moderator tonight, editor of this home, and Jernell Rocelle and Gladys and Thomas, and Katelyn will introduce them more. I want to just invite you to make sure you look at the show. I'm going to read a little bit about Cey so that you know who he is. Because I had a few questions. And you can also read his statement and his bio over there. So Cey Adams, he's been here before. He did the mural, the Love mural, which we have prints of, on the Hampton Park Club. He was part of the mural festival that was here a couple years ago. He's based in Brooklyn, and I hope you can come to our closing party on August 14th. That's a Friday night because he'll be here. And what?
I think it's August 12th.
Is it the 12th?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, why do I have that? Okay. Because he'll be here, and he's a wonderful person and a wonderful storyteller and can talk about all of the work. And part of the stories that he would tell were that he grew up in Brooklyn, and he was a graffiti artist, a tagger, and then he was kind of taken under someone's wing, and he started exhibiting art with Keith Haring and Basquiat and hanging out with Andy Warhol, et cetera, et cetera. So he has a really great history. He became a graphic designer for Def Jam. And so he did all the visual identities and album covers and logos for like Mary J. Blige, the Beastie Boys. He's buddies with the Beastie Boys, DMC, LL Cool J, Public Enemy, et cetera, et cetera. He also went to Hollywood for a while and was working in the film industry for a while. I can talk to you about that. And then he kind of really turned himself to fine art. And a lot of what's going on here is an outgrowth of his Trusted Brands series. He really is paying homage to the brands that he grew up with a lot of this work. And some of them are kind of replicas of those brands. Some of them have collage elements involved. There's a lot of nostalgia and graphic design, as well as fine art involved in his work. And, you know, in some cases, cultural, political commentary. So he exhibits, lectures, and teaches at the Smithsonian, National Museum of African American History and Culture, MoMA, Brooklyn Museum. He's been to the Walker, NYU, Temple, Pratt, Howard, et cetera, et cetera. And he has actually collaborated with brands like IDEO, Levi's, Apple, Foot Locker, Pabst, YouTube, and Google. Okay. So all of the work is for sale, and we hope you'll take a close look at that. Again, the closing party is the 12th. And Jernell Rocelle will be our DJ. So it'll be great. So we'll have an outdoor tent, and we'll have music and beverages and things like that, so that'll be great. Also, I wanted to mention the rugs. Cey is a big collaborator. He loves to collaborate, and he collaborated with Lucy Chico in New York on a new rug series, which we have samples of. So, and here's a little book about all of that. All right, what else? I think I mentioned everything. I want to read our land acknowledgement. It's very important. NewStudio Architecture and NewStudio Gallery gratefully acknowledge the Dakota peoples on whose land we meet. For thousands of years, the Dakota people were in kinship with this land, as well as during the several hundred years since European settlers colonized and seized the land that Minnesota now occupies. Today, there are 4 Dakota communities in the southern portion of the state and 7 Ojibwe communities to the north. We pay our respects to the Dakota, the Ojibwe, and their cultures, past, present, and future. All right, so, Katelyn.
Hey.
Take it away, hi everyone.
So, Katelyn, my friend Katelyn, my boss Katelyn. She's the group editor at Green Spring Media, of which Midwest Home is one of their signature publications, and she's the editor. She leads strategic content development across the print, digital, and social media forms of Minnesota's only standalone subscription-based home and garden publication, Midwest Home. She also manages the company's recently acquired, still doing this?
I am.
Events, okay.
I am.
Group division, she's a Cey, where she oversees the production of 30 plus B2B meetings and events publications across nearly a dozen markets nationwide. She is a dancer, choreographer, dance teacher. Her kids love her. And so I'm gonna let her take it away. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Camille, for having me. Hi, everyone. Like Camille very graciously said, my name is Katelyn, and I'm going to be facilitating tonight's panel on Joyous Maximalism. And I'm very, very lucky to have the best in the business to be speaking about this topic to my right here. So I'm just going to read their bios really quickly, give you the rundown on who they are, what they do, and we're just going to kind of go through some questions and that will guide our conversation. Afterwards, we'll open it up to you if you have any questions. Feel free to address the panel. So, without further ado, to my right here, I have Jernell Rocelle. She is the owner of 5 Senses Design and Home Staging, a design firm located in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Jernell has always had a passion for design. She decided early on that she would always keep that artistic spark and do the work that not only fulfilled her, but also helped others as well. Armed with an interior design degree, in 2019, she founded a design firm to assist sellers and dwellers with maximizing their space through color, style, and functional solutions. She is also a realtor. Jernell is looking forward to obtaining an architecture degree and aspires to build and design smart, sustainable, new construction units for urban dwelling. She is the mother of 5 and a wife-to-be in 2022. In her free time, she loves to travel, DJ weddings and parties, and have special date nights with her family. Let's all welcome Jernell.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
We also have Gladys Tay with us. Gladys is a designer and vintage dealer, and she is passionate about creating unique spaces with color and vintage pieces that are one of a kind. Through visual imagery, she hopes to inspire people to have fun and live outside the box by sharing her creativity and love for aged objects.
Thank you.
And over to my far right, we have Thomas Hill. He is the dapper designer and owner of Thomas I. Hill Interiors in Minneapolis. He began his career as a fashion designer after studying at the Minneapolis College of Art and Design and the Epsom College of Design and Technology in England. He won multiple awards throughout Europe and the US for his fashion, and then, like Calvin Klein and Ralph Lauren, he turned his attention to interior furnishings and interior design. His interior work fuses traditional with contemporary to create his own signature classical eclecticism. Thomas is also an art director, or an art collector, excuse me. An art director. We can change the title up. That works. I feel like that still applies. That applies. Because I say so. And yesterday, even purchased Cey Adams' KFC piece in honor of his mom's love of Kentucky Fried Chicken. You have a story to tell. You have a story to tell. He says, I don't buy art for a certain spot in my home. I buy art because I love the art. I have so many different types. Each piece holds its own, even when I collage them all together. Wow. We're very, very lucky to have all 3 of them in front of us, and I cannot wait to hear all of their insights as well. All right, so first and foremost, I want us to just go down the line, and define what joyous maximalism means to you. Why do you think it's becoming a trend? What's the appeal? Why is it something, that we should be thinking about and talking about today?
Well, I think that because everybody was home over the last couple of years, kind of getting in touch with themselves. I think joyous maximalism kind of accentuates what people love about art and what they want in their home. Like, okay, of course, everybody was home. They want to enhance their homes and make it more eclectic. So when they're sitting in their space, they're like, okay, this is me. I feel really comfortable here, and I want to expand that comfortability. I can't even talk today, that's so crazy. amongst their space that can feel the most comfortable in that space. So that, I think that is really what it is. It's about, you know, merging the eclecticness of what they love, the color, just feeling really happy in that space and just making it feel like somewhere they want to be all the time. Yeah.
I think maximalism to me is really about playing with lots of colors, textures, and prints, and being surrounded by the things that you love, that brings you joy. And like you said, I think during the pandemic, a lot of us were stuck at home, and then home became not only a space that we could feel safe in, we wanted it to be a happy space, that we could be sane. And that's when a lot of people started to fill their homes with things that they love. You know, it could be like plants or like creating a gallery wall with different kinds of artworks and pictures of families and friends. And I think that's kind of how people like got going with that trend. Yeah, just being home.
Just being home.
But you have to do something too. So, you know.
And for me, it's more having things around you that you love and that have meaning to you. And even the pieces of art that we see around us that Cey has created, these are connecting with things that are from his past, that have meaning to him. And just like when I purchased the Kentucky Fried Chicken one, when I saw it, there's a story there for me that brings me joy and makes me feel good. And to have something, or you should have most things in your home, if not everything in your home, have a meaning to you that brings you joy and happiness, because your home is your castle. And like I have a huge gallery wall, well, it's a room, it's probably 25 to 30 feet high, and it's from the floor to the ceiling, and it's in the dining room, and it's been positioned there for a reason. And the reason is that when I have house company come over for a meal or whatever, we sit around the table, I can say, you know, if we want a conversation, usually it's not a problem, but sometimes it can be more interesting. I can say, you can ask me about anything on the wall, and there's a story attached to it. And my guests will look and they'll go, well, tell me about that piece. And I'll start sharing my story about it. So when you're collecting, if it's art or if it's furnishings or whatever it is, if it can have a connection to you and who you are, it's going to always have meaning to you. When you walk through your home, you're going to look at the things that you collected over the years, and you're going to say, well, that piece came to me, and this is what was happening when that piece came to me. And those pieces will always grab and comfort you and hold you for many, many years to come.
What's a great segue too, and just talking about Cey's work, you know, in general. And I feel like, Thomas, you just kind of hit this on the head. You talked about what you like about his work, what resonates. For all three of you, really, what do you love most about the work that you are seeing here tonight, and why do you think it's perfect for, you know, a maximalist interior, or really any interior, you know, for that matter?
Well, it really sparks nostalgia. Like all these brands I grew up with, you know, like the Hot Wheels, like, oh my God, my brother had 1 million of them around, you know, stepping on them and stuff. So it just, just thinking about, you know, how it, you know, I grew up with these brands, like, oh my goodness, like, there's so many stories, like, we could talk about, and just bringing the color and all this, you know, just the artistic and graphic nature of the designs kind of helps bring everything together in a home, or in your workspace, like whatever you want to do. Like his artwork can kind of just converge into whatever that is that you want to see happen. So, yeah.
So for me is I love all the colors on the artwork. It makes me like feel really happy and joyous, and it's very iconic. It's something that everybody can relate to, and we all can, you know, share a story. Like when I was looking around the gallery, the shell one really like stood out to me, and I had like a little flashback of like when I was in kindergarten. My dad, he loves rally racing, and he would take me to the tracks. And I will watch him paste like stickers on the car for hours. And one of the sponsors for the event was like Shell. So I mean, to be honest, I mean, when you're in like 5 or 6 years old, I mean, that wasn't really fun. You watch your dad do that. Now when I see that logo, I think of my dad, you know, and it kind of makes me, it's very like nostalgic, you know, and you think about, so
And it goes,
hits
you know, it goes back to, you know, that personal tie,
Yes.
those personal
Yes.
connections and how
Yes.
it all
Yeah.
comes together.
And I agree with that too. I came here yesterday to review the show, just so I could, I didn't want to have an immediate vision of what I was seeing before chatting about it or whatever, so I wanted to see how it made me feel. And when I came down here and I walked through, and this is more of a minimalist setting, I walked through, and of course, with all the breathing space around the art, you were able to, I could almost look at every piece of art and tell you my story, even though it's not my story, but it's a time in a period of my life where I know about Coca-Cola, I know about Zenith televisions, and I played with Hot Wheels, and I remember as a child when candy bars costed a nickel, and you could get 6, or if you had a quarter, you could get 6, and my mom would give us a quarter, and we'd have to decide which candy bars we were gonna get. And so just each piece, and then the fact of all of the vibrant colors that were spoken about, it's like, and I love color. When I see color, I just gravitate to it. It just, again, it just brings you to a period of time, and most of these pieces that you see here bring you to a period of time that were joyful in some sense.
Absolutely. Well, I feel like with pieces like this too that are so impactful and pack so much punch, do you have any advice, you know, on how to incorporate things like this into like a maximalist aesthetic without getting too busy, without things looking cluttered? How do you incorporate work without it just being too much? You know, how do you curate? How do you kind of par down? Or do you at all? Just keep piling in.
I mean, I guess it really kind of depends on what their preference is. If they want to just, you know, keep adding on the color and keep layering it, I mean, I'm all for that. Like, let's go, you know. But it just, you know, just depends on the placement and where you place it, and like how bold that will be in that position and where it is. Also coupled with, you know, rugs and different, you know, elements, plants, like those all kind of factor in how you balance that space. So yeah, I mean, it kind of, it's all about preference to me, and as far as like what that client wants to have and what they want to feel when they're in their space. Yeah.
And well, that goes to say too, I mean, what I might think is busy and too much is not going to be what you think is.
Yeah,
That's what I
absolutely.
totally get
It's
that.
really preference.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for me, this is such a loaded question.
I know it is for you. I know it is.
Because of my nature of work, we're always buying and selling, and even though I have the best intentions sometimes, I will fall in love with a piece, and then it goes into my personal collection. So I'm always walking this fine line between collection and clutter.
Yeah.
So clutter to me is like an unorganized space filled with things that has no value to me, and when I'm in it, I feel very overwhelmed. So I find myself constantly editing my collection. And then when I do that, you know, I'll just ask myself like 2 or 3 simple questions. Do I love it? Does it bring me joy? Does it make me happy? And if all the answers are like no, 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 I would toss it. You know, so I think by doing these 2 things has helped me it has helped me create a space that's more curated than clutter. So constantly just going through, you know, and when you buy things that you love, it will just somehow fit.
Yeah.
It will somehow look like it's meant to be
Yes.
part of the decoration, the design, and everything. Yeah.
And I guess for me, I have a rule. I don't buy anything unless it's beautiful. And so I don't have to look through my things and edit. I get up in the morning and I say, everything around me is beautiful. And I'm going to have a beautiful day. And if I were asked to transition from maximalist to minimalist, with one of these pieces of art, I would find a quiet spot in my house. It could be to one side of a room, or it could be in a bathroom, or it could be just this spot where it was given the space that it needs to breathe and stand on its own. Meanwhile, being able to maximize the other things that I love and enjoy in the other areas of my house, and that's how I would handle that. But I always, even today, I tell my younger family members and friends, if you buy one nice thing at a time, eventually everything will be nice. So don't go out and buy 6 things because you think you need 6 things in the moment. Buy one nice thing. And after a while, everything you have will be nice. It doesn't matter to me if it's a purse, if it's a pair of shoes, if it's a necklace, if it's a hat. Buy what you love and buy something nice for yourself.
Right?
There we go. I love that.
Yes.
We can go home now. That was a period on that conversation. Love that. Well, and again though, I mean, it all kind of goes back, you know, what is that advice? What do you see people doing, you know, that they don't have to do or that they could be doing to add, you know, what we were saying, Gladys, add that joy into their space. So I wanted to ask you 3 as well, what kind of, I don't like the word mistakes necessarily, but do you see people making mistakes when it comes to, you know, what they're filling their home with, or, you know, when they are making selections, when they are choosing furnishings, what are they maybe looking back on saying, oh, I wish I didn't do that? You know, what kind of possible regrets or mistakes are you seeing people making? Maybe it's your clients or people in your own life, or even you.
Right? Oh, wow. I think it's sometimes they impulse buy. You know, oh, I love this. This is so great. It could go, and they don't know where it could go. You know, you're like, okay, we have a process here. You know, we're kind of trying to curate your space how you want it to be, but because you love it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to fit where you want it or you think it should go. Right. You know, so it's about really taking a step back and saying, hey, what do I want here? How do I want to feel? And what items will make me feel how I want to feel in this space? And really planning it out and saying, okay, we're not going to impulse buy because you love it. You know, you can love 1,000 things. I love every piece in here, you know, but doesn't mean I would necessarily buy every piece. Sure. Because, you know, you have to know exactly where it's going to go and how it's going to make you feel. Sure. So that's what it comes down to me and my clients. Yeah.
I think in today's world, we get bombarded by a lot of images, a lot of advertising. And sometimes we, and clients too, they get this perfect picture in their head and they say, oh, you know what, this is how I like it to be and this is how I want it to be, but there isn't really much thought put into it, and a lot of it is impulse buy, you know, and that's how I think people get in trouble when they start having things that doesn't really mean much to them. You know, it doesn't become that forever piece, they don't fall in love with it, it's just like, oh, because it's trending now and they look good over there, you know, and I think over time they will start to realize that, okay, you know, that's not meant for me, and that's when things will start to get tossed out. Yeah, sure. So that's sort of a mistake, but I also feel people need to go through that because design is really within us. It's really about understanding who you really are. Sure. So sometimes we have to go through those mistakes to figure out what really works for us and what doesn't work, and then we take notes and you're like, okay, I did that at a time and then I created this and this is not gonna work, so what can I do next time moving forward? So I think it's all like a process and it's all beautiful mistakes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I guess in my world, I'm usually hired to help you not make mistakes.
Right.
And sometimes you get a call because they've made a mistake on their own. And you get, could you fix this? And so then you have to take the mistake and it takes you into a direction to making it become something beautiful. Once again, I'm hired to help you not make mistakes so that you don't have to spend your money on a mistake. That way we can get you the nice things that you need and we can follow the plan that's trying to be executed. And so usually that's the way my world works, and that's the path that I go down.
Yes, I agree.
So Absolutely. How do the three of you, maybe see maximalism transforming or evolving over the next, handful of years?
That's a loaded question. Let me think about that for a little while.
I can go first.
Yeah.
Well, if you're gonna be a maximalist, you're always gonna be a collector. So where is it going to go? It's not going to go, it's going to continue. Because you're gonna continue to collect things that you love, and you're gonna surround yourself with it. And if you buy nice things, you're not going to be doing any editing. You may, what I have nothing in storage. It's like, it doesn't do you any good in storage because you can't see it. I don't, everything I have out. I walk around every day. If it's photographs or whatever, all my people are out, all my art is out, all my furniture's out. Everything I use, it's within hand's reach, because if it's down the street in a storeroom or someplace, I can't get to it. By the time I get there, it's like, I don't think I want to do that today anymore. So I think it's going to be, if you're a maximist, you're going to always continue to be someone that's going to collect things. So.
Do you feel like that collection, though, or like what you look for when you're collecting has transformed over time for you personally?
It transforms just because of what is available to you that may not have been available to you in the past. But usually if you're collecting things, you have an interest of what you are collecting. And so you're gonna gravitate towards the things that you're interested in. And so whatever you're looking at, if it's from the past or if it's from the future, it's gonna be a complement to what you already have.
Should I go?
Oh, sure.
Bring it back to myself. I think that is very true what you say. So I think if you're a maximalist, you're gonna be that. If you're a minimalist, you're gonna be that. I just think the way people would decorate the house would be a little bit different. There would be more pop art, there should be more color, and whatever happened the last couple of years is very impactful, and I think you see a lot of that in people's home, because that has made a mark in all of our lives. So I think that's kind of where we go. And it was just mishmash. It's just gonna be a collection of what happened the last couple of years. Yeah, but definitely more pop out of what happened the last couple of years. Yeah, and color.
Do you feel like your personal style has transformed?
Definitely, because I evolve as a person.
Sure. Yep.
What I may be 10 years ago, I may not be now. So the things that I like or I may gravitate to have completely changed.
Sure.
So I have stuff, but I really need to read stuff too. Sure.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of what they both said, like even just with the art that Cey has provided, these brands are going to change.
Sure.
The things that the younger generation likes are going to change versus what we like. So as that changes, their idea of what they like is going to change too. So if they want to, offer that same maximalist personality, they're going to incorporate the things that they like and they grew up with.
Sure.
So it's gonna always evolve. And as with the world, art changes, our minds change, our things that we love change. So yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Should we have a question and then we'll open it up? Yeah, okay, absolutely, that sounds great. I was curious, do you have any advice, for those looking to get their feet wet, in completely, transforming their interiors? Like, let's say that, this artwork is going to inspire someone, I want to make a change in my life, in my space. Is art the place to start? Is it furnishings? Is it contacting a designer? Could you do it on your own? What kind of advice do the three of you have, for diving in and taking that chance?
Well, I guess it kind of depends on your confidence level. Like, are you confident in making sure that you're gonna provide a space that will be something that you would want to sit in? If not, hire a designer. If you can do that, do that. But if not, I'm always here to help. I would love to help anybody here figure that out for what they want to do. Because I'm a visualist. Like, I started with graphic design. That was my first career, and that has evolved into interior design, and hopefully that will evolve into architecture as well. So just kind of making, my thing is like the plan, like what do you want? What do you want to see? How do you want to feel? It's always down to how you feel. And if you feel like you can do that, by all means, make it happen. If you need help, for sure, I would love to help.
That's true. For me, I like to tell people, you know, when you are gonna jump into something different, keep an open mind, take risks, and be okay about making mistakes. And that's kind of where you learn, you know, and it could be as simple as starting a gallery wall, it could be with art, and especially art is so personal, it reflects our personality, who we really are, and just enjoy and play. There's no right or wrong rules, I feel, just do it, and then you take a step back, and then you process it for a while, and then you figure out, okay, maybe not, and then you just keep doing it, and you fine tune what eventually would work for you. Yeah. Are you hiding here?
And again. Usually when I arrive to a client, they already have an idea of what they want. It might not be the right idea, but they have an idea of what they want. And my job is to guide them in the right direction. And so if they're starting from scratch or whatever, it's, again, we're gonna start with what their ideals are and decide what ideals are good, what ideals are bad, and elaborate on that and start to build something with that. And as far as the art goes, in the space, usually you're designing the space and the art comes later unless you already have a piece of art that you love. But when you're buying a piece of art, you shouldn't be buying a piece of art because it goes with whatever the design is. You should be buying your art because you love it. It doesn't have to go with your sofa.
Love that. Does anyone have any questions? Anyone? Yeah?
Well, could you just say more about, it doesn't have to go with your sofa? Like, talk more about that, because for people who have been minimalists or who don't know anything else, which isn't necessarily the people in here, because we have a lot of designers in here tonight. I'm more of a minimalist. I'm a, mid-century person, but I have a lot of pop art, but I'm not necessarily a maximalist.
Right.
So when you say buy something because you love it, not because it matches,
Yes.
tell me more, like,
Well, I guess if you're,
Give me
I'm
more
not a
tips.
minimalist because when you're a minimalist, you have to live it's a lifestyle that's different than mine in your environment, and I like my spaces to wrap its arms around me. In a minimalist, if one thing is off, even an accessory on the table, everything is off. It throws everything off, and so it's a more difficult way to live, although it's beautiful. If I was going to be a minimalist, I'd have two homes because I love the look of that. But it's not kid-friendly, and it's not, I could live in my own space, but, with myself, but with a significant other or whatever, it might not work out so well because you're gonna say, oh, you move that over, or you move that over. Even as a maximalist, if you came into my house and you move something over a quarter of an inch, I'm gonna notice it. And so, what I'm saying about the art, it's sort of like if you're a minimalist and you have a piece of art that you love, hang it on your wall. And if someone comes in and says, I don't get the piece of art, you can say, well, I love this piece of art. This is where I got this piece of art. This is what this piece of art means to me. And the rest of this is the soft area that which you sit on, or what it does is it actually, if it doesn't quite go, it throws people's minds off and it makes them think. Because when you go into a room and everything kind of matches and it looks like it came from Garanimals, there's nothing to think about. But when you have something that throws people off, and sometimes I do it deliberately because you'll stop and you'll look at it and it makes you think, why did they do that?
Yeah.
And so, which can be a good thing. Everything doesn't need to be predictable, and it shouldn't be.
So I have a question for you,
Oh.
Thomas. So I'm a bit familiar thinking just like, cause I like to collect things myself, but not so much art, just stuff in general, but like when you have your space is limited, you know it's limited. You only have so many square inches on a wall or square feet on a wall, and you are buying things that you love. At what point do you get to where you're like, gosh, I love this, but I really don't have the space for it? Like, 'cause there's gotta be a point where that happens. Like, how do you
Yeah.
deal with that?
Well, I believed I was at that point years ago.
I was wondering where you're gonna put KFC.
Yeah.
No room.
And I think in the last month, I know I've bought 4 pieces of art.
Nice.
And each time I buy one, I go, this is the last. And then I go home, and I bring it home, and I lean it against a chair, and I look at it,
I just love
and then I start visualizing my house, and I think, where is it gonna go? And sometimes I get a tape measure out, won't go there. It won't go there. And then sometimes it has to sit there for a while, then all of a sudden, I got it. I might have to do a little shifting or whatever.
Yeah. Just figure it out.
But I like, even with what I do have, it has to breathe. I don't want it to look like clutter. It needs to look designed.
Yeah.
So I know I'm right there. So I guess the answer to that question is, you will know.
Okay, all right. Sounds good, thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I have a question for Gladys. I'm really interested in your answer of where you see maximalism going and brands specifically in that nostalgia, particularly in relation to COVID and us staying home. How do you see this nostalgia playing into like resentment about economical changes as far as that brand nostalgia goes? I know you're very interested in brands, so I'm interested in what your thoughts are on that.
Meaning, brands, can you say that again?
Like the nostalgia versus this economical climate. Do you think those will be at odds, or do you think there'll be a way that will play together?
I think it will play together because everything is hand in hand, and our relationship with whatever is going on is very specific. And some things would stick out a little bit more, and some is like, it's okay, And I think those things that would stick out more, it could be the whole George Floyd thing, you may not have certain things about it, but maybe a certain color of a mural you saw on the flowers. So those things, and if like a company would have certain things of that color, or something that has a connotation to it, and it sparks your memories about whatever that has happened, I think that would start to come into people's home, yeah.
Well, I think it even goes back to what you were saying about how we personally evolve, as times change, and those, what you're talking about in society, in our economy, those things are impacting us on a personal level, whether we know it or not, which is going to influence, our entire life.
Correct, yeah, so the way we think, the way we feel, how we want our house to look, it may be one way this way, but, as things go by December, who knows? Right. It's very uncertain, we are all very high-strung by emotions now.
Yes.
And whatever that is impacting us today, we will always remember, and then that you could bring into your design.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah. So when you're on Instagram, I feel like nowadays most like the shop amber interiors and all the looks that you see a lot of the local people, I guess maybe the ones that I'm following on design art on Instagram are more of that kind of subdued, natural, lots of neutrals. When do you think, or do you feel like maximalism is hitting its stride now, and that's gonna kind of ebb out some of that more, I don't wanna say minimalist, because it's not super minimalist, it's just more of that kind of very neutral
Neutrals,
feel.
yeah.
And I think for me personally, I know through COVID, like I did I needed more calm, and I was a very eclectic, you know, I have a lot of that, and I needed to calm it down, but now that we're kind of coming out, I'm like, no, need to bring it back. And so do you think that that is what's kind of spurring on some of what's happening in the movement of people having more of a openness to kind of the maximalism idea?
I think so. And then I think you can have a little bit of both too. So as much as I love all my stuff around me, and color and whatnot, but to be honest, our bedroom is very calm, and I have only 1 or 2 vintage things, and my bathroom is very neutral, but I still want my colors. So I pop out on the wall, I do a little painting. So I think you create a nice balance, and I think you can have both somehow. And I think maximalism doesn't have to be like always things. It can be texture on the wall. It could be beams. You know, you can bring in a lot of texture and still keep it kind of neutral and a little bit of color. And it's just how you want to play with it.
I also think that social media kind of plays a big part too, especially in the world of NFTs and the metaverse and all that stuff. So let's say you don't really necessarily want that kind of palette in your physical space, you could create that palette in digital space, you know, where you're putting on your 3D goggles and you're going into the metaverse and you're seeing like your artwork all over, you know, your virtual gallery. You know, it kind of depends on what your preference is and how you want to kind of bring those spaces into your life. So yeah, that kind of makes an impact too. Yeah.
Can I ask, I've had people like come to me and be like, oh, what do you think your style is? And I don't really quite know. Do you guys know what style you kind of emulate? Is it just straight maximalist, or do you tell people, oh, I have like this style of like design or interiors, that kind of thing?
For me, I always say it's eclectic and depends what kind of mood I am. You know, like now it's like modern and pop art and everything in between. So I would never, it's hard to define, but whatever I'm gravitating to, I would just say I'm this and this and everything in between. Because I do like, when you're a maximalist and you're eclectic, you do like almost everything. Yeah. But you don't have to define your style. You never need to, I feel.
I have a question. How do we maintain the integrity of maximalism, as we talk about here, as this loving process of collecting and finding things that spark joy and meaning in you? If it's becoming a trend and big brands hop onto that, and then it becomes people living beyond their means and creating short-term waste and all of that. So I'm not sure what my question is, but I worry that if it is becoming if maximalism becomes the next trend, that then it becomes a corporate thing and people just buy shit.
I think it's true, and I think we all go through phases. I think companies do, but because of what I do, you know, we buy and sell. So I'm constantly going through people's stuff and homes, and you know, something that may mean nothing to me at this point, even though I just bought it or whatever. And if I sell it, somebody else may love it. So to me, it's more of a recyclable. It doesn't really like go to the landfill, and it will always hold its meaning to somebody else.
I like that answer.
My perspective on that is I don't design for trend. I design for my clients. I just don't do trends. It's like, be who you are and represent who you are. You don't need to follow the game.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, it goes back to what you were saying too about finding things that bring you joy, finding things that you truly love that are truly beautiful. That's not a trend. That's who you are.
Right. So those things will
At
not
your core. That
be
doesn't go
recycled
away.
into landfills and so forth, because you have an emotional attachment to them at whatever it might be for a period of time in your life, or someplace you've been or someplace you're going, but there's going to be some sort of attachment to it rather than, well, that's what everybody else was doing back there, so I decided I'd jump on the boat with them.
Yeah.
But I think to your point too, that's happened kind of with the whole neutral world
Yes.
of like the plants and the, you know, you can go to Target or anywhere, anywhere, crystals, and everybody wants that feeling. And so I think like you could almost see where you could buy here's how to have a maximalist home, just buy this pack of 10 whatever and put them up. And so there is a fear, I think, a little bit of that where everyone won't have a lovely, you know,
Right.
designer who is guiding them, and they just want this look, and so then it does, and then the next look comes, and then you do have this,
Right.
you know, home goods
Exactly.
trash bin going away. you know,
Right.
So it's a challenging thing, I think, in design, kind of figuring out how to create in a meaningful way and get it to the masses in a meaningful way.
Totally. Anyone else have anything?
I do. So I work here at NewStudio, and Thomas, you already described this as kind of a minimalist space that we're in. It is kind of minimalist, industrialist, the things that we do here, and it's reflected in the studio. Do spaces like this drive you crazy? Or, I mean, are you just dying to throw stuff up on the wall and talk to everybody in here and bring more personality in here? Or?
No, not at all. I mean, I appreciate what this is. I appreciate that it's different than who I am, just like you're different than I am. If we all look the same, we all act the same, and we all design the same, we live in a very boring world. So you have to embrace the differences of what people love, how they look, what they live around, the architecture, all that. Whatever it is, there's beauty there. And everywhere you look around, there's design. Everything is design. Everything. If you look at what you're wearing, if you look at the walls, if you look at the paint color on the floor, everywhere you look, you see design. It could be your jewelry, color of your hair. Everything is design. And we want all those different elements to be different, and we need to appreciate the differences within them. So when I look at this space, I love it. It's calming, it's peaceful, it's colorful, it's warm. Is it for everyone? No. Is it for is it for someone? Yes. So when I see this space, I appreciate this space, and I wouldn't change a thing unless you asked me.
Okay. Wow, thank you so much, you guys. It would, and everybody, what a wonderful, uplifting, intelligent discussion. I loved it. Thank you. I thank you so much. And we'll be around. You can have some beverages, look at some art, talk with our panelists. Thank you so much for coming tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.